Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
We believe that Islam, through Ahmediyya, will triumph after a period of 300 years from the time of its creation, and that this will be because it is a true religion and because it is the divine will. Can one also say that the spread of Islam, spread of Christianity before the advent of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, was because it was a true religion, because it was the will of God, or were there other causes behind the spread of Christianity?
In fact, the real cause of spread and victory of our faith is the promise of God to His Prophet, that this faith would ultimately become victorious. We observe two phenomena, different ones. One is that although Allah keeps His promise, yet people before the time of the fulfillment of the promise have gone astray, unfortunately. But because Allah made a promise, so He keeps to that promise. And sometimes we observe that people remain pure and stick truly to the same religion, which is made ultimately victorious. At the time of victory, they are still pure. And there is a third possibility as well, that the truth lies in between the two positions. Even if the majority of a certain people have gone astray, before the time of the fulfillment of the promise of final victory, it may happen, and I believe that it always so happens, that at least a narrow streak among them remains on the right. And the promise is fulfilled for their sake, not for the sake of the majority which has gone astray. But because history is more influenced by numbers than by qualities, so what it preserves is the number, not that thin streak. It doesn't become prominent to history. It is forgotten. And when we look back through the eyes of history, then you see a different picture. It appears to you that perhaps the entire people had gone astray and the promise came to be fulfilled at a time when no pious man was left. So that is too late. It is a situation which looks like a verse or a couplet of Urdu which says, "Tha jinhe zauke tamasha, wo to rukhsat ho gaye, leke ab tu wa'da-e deedar-e aam aaya to kya." Those who were yearning to see someone, they have all left one after the other and none is here now. O harbinger of good news, now that you have come with the news that your beloved is coming, what's the use? All those who truly loved him, who were yearning, dying to see him, they have themselves died. So this would be the situation very similar to that situation. So my belief is, and I'm quite certain it is true, history will bear out if you study history minutely, that at the time of the fulfillment of Allah's promise of victory, even if a religious followers have gone astray in majority of cases, there are always light bearers who continue to stick to the original truth. So history would tell us that if at the time of the victory of Christianity, the entire religious sects of Christianity had not gone astray. Among them were Unitarians, among them who believed in all purity of heart, in Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, as a true prophet of God, not as his son. And sometimes it also happens, and it happened vis-a-vis Christianity as well, that although that streak I'm calling a narrow streak is not that narrow, it's quite broad, but it is put into oblivion by the people of the later ages because of a different thing which has happened. For instance, that broad line of such certain people who still stick to truth at the time of victory is later on absorbed by a new light. They're attracted to a new appearance, new advent, and they leave that original religion. And what is left is all the majority which had erred and which had lost touch with the truth. So their history would be carried down by them. And the people who would come later on would think that they are the forefathers, they were the custodians of truth, and the truth is that which was preserved by them. So that narrow streak would totally disappear. Narrow streak which was not really that narrow, it may be broad and yet it may disappear. This is exactly what happened with the case of Christianity and Islam. At the time of the Holy Prophet of Islam, a great majority of Christians living in Arabia and Syria and other parts were Unitarians. They believed in one God. They were excommunicated by the churches of that time. Yet they held a very, if not majority, they had a large following. At the appearance of Islam, they all became Muslims, or a greater part among them, I should say, not all, became Muslims. And those sects disappeared from Christianity and reappeared in Islam. So a Christian historian would not take them into account. He would think that they died out a natural death, and what is wrong to us and what is right to them, that became conqueror. And the real faith was carried down to our generations by that majority, and they were so overwhelming that the other part was as if non-existent. But this is not true. We know in the religious history of Christianity, there are many times when the Unitarians fought almost equal battles for title. And because, unfortunately for Christianity, the emperor's religion, who had become Christians, was on the wrong side, so they had less chance to survival, those who were on the right, than those who occupied the positions of force and power. That is what happened.
Okay.
Yes?